After a 2-year hiatus from the event, the 2021 New York City Marathon broke the drought with a slightly smaller field than we're used to seeing due to coronavirus restrictions, but nonetheless, some of the best marathon runners in the world lining up to contest for the $100,000 first prize packet. Despite not being known for its super fast times, the rolling hills and tight corners makes this race a really nice competition for who is the best tactical runner on the day. To give you a little bit of context as to how fast this race is, the race record is, I say only, 2 hours and 5 minutes, set by Jeffrey Mutai back in 2011. But when you consider the fact that some of these athletes are running very low 2-hour times in events like the Berlin Marathon, it makes you realize just how slow, inverted commas, a particular race like this one is. However, that doesn't take away the excitement because tactics plays a big part and often opens up the door for a slight underdog to come through and take out the race. Standing on the start line was most notable performer Kenenisa Bekele of Ethiopia, who hosts a personal best over the marathon of 2 hours and 1 minute. Not to mention his PB over 10,000 meters, 26 minutes and 17 seconds, or 5,000 meters, 12:37. An athlete like this is very hard to rule out. Now, despite being a little inconsistent in his marathon performances since his debut, with the times like that on the board, if he's fit and has a good day, he's going to be a very hard man to beat. Another African athlete, Albert Korir of Kenya, came into the race with a PB of 2 hours and 8 minutes, 3 seconds. Now, despite not being super comparable to the likes of Kenenisa Bekele in terms of personal bests, his consistency over the marathon, he's run 2:08 5 times and recently ran 2 hours and 13 minutes in Kenya, makes you think that if the other athletes are slightly off their game and Albert is very on his game and runs it well, he could run away with a big victory. Moroccan Mohamed El Arabi came into the race with a PB of 2 hours and 9 minutes, which, much like Korir, wasn't necessarily a time which you'd consider to be highly contested for a big city marathon like this. Aliab Fagnoul came into the race from Italy with a PB of 2 hours and 7 minutes. So off the bat there, we have 4 athletes who, any of them having a day of their life, could take out this potential race. But much of it has to do with the tactics. Much of it has to do with the speed. And that's what we're going to watch unfold in the next 2 hours. For the first few miles, much like many big city marathons, we don't see any one athlete just run to the front and try and take it up upon themselves, but we see a nice group of 8 to 10 runners running together for that first 8 to 10 miles. It's a beautiful way to the field to work off each other, find their feet, find their rhythm, and then as they start to get further into the race, start to make some moves and adjust the pace based on how they're feeling, how they think would give them the best opportunity to win this particular race. It wasn't until the 20th mile that Albert Korir, with a PB of 2 hours and 8 minutes, surged to the front and started to run away from the field. We knew that his consistency in performances over the marathon was going to give him an opportunity to be up there in the race, but I don't think many people suspected that this athlete would be able to run away from the likes and the talent that were in the pack that he was running away from. Despite not having the fastest PB, some notable mentions from Korir was he finished second in the New York City Marathon in 2019, so he's experienced with this course. He knew what some pain points would be. He knew what his best opportunity to win this race would be. More than just placing second in 2019 here in New York City, since 2017 he won the Houston Marathon, the Venice Marathon, and placed second in Lake Biwa in Japan. After this surge, it made it very difficult for athletes to be able to keep up with him, and Albert, who was clearly having the race of his life, managed to run away from the field, finishing first in a time of 2 hours, 8 minutes and 22 seconds. Mohamed El Arabi finished in 2 hours and 9 minutes 6 seconds, and Aliab Fagnoul of Italy finished in 2 hours 9 minutes and 52 seconds. Notable mention was that Kenenisa Bekele, with a personal best of 2 hours and 1 minute, was well off the back, finishing in his slowest ever marathon time of 2 hours and 12 minutes, again raising question marks as to what his future in the marathon event looks like. There are a number of notable performances, but none as notable as Albert Carrer's victory in 2 hours, 8 minutes and 22 seconds. What was the most notable performance in this race to you? Was it Kenenisa Bekele's lackluster performance, or was it Albert's victory over the race? Let me know in the comments below who you thought stood out, who you think needs to stand up, and who you're excited about seeing in the marathon over the coming 12 months.